So welcome back to the Weekend Warrior Show Recap Podcast. I'm Ty from the Unemployed Architects. This one you're going to hear, a lot of noises and external sounds because I'm driving to a show. It's recently brought to my attention that I'm, a little bit lazy about getting these podcasts out, and I need to be more productive. I need to put more effort into it because I do enjoy doing it, but it's just never enough time. So I'm trying to multitask. So I'm heading to a show over in Leroy at a place called Houdinis Spirits. I've played there a bunch of times, and it's a pretty standard gig for me, really. But so I have actually a few shows to kind of recap this week. So that's kind of unusual. But I had the pod with Jeff I did last few weeks. And those long guest pods take longer to edit, so, just to get it just right and whatnot. So that's why it sometimes takes a long time for me to get more out. Not that, a ton of people are listening or anything like that, but, I just like to be productive. I like to go through the shows, and I like to, try to cover all of them. So first show I'm going to talk about is the one I did. It would have been like 3 weeks back at a place called Gig's Place in Fairbury, Illinois. So this show, Blair and I have done a bunch of times. This time it was just Dave and I. And it was a pretty unsuspecting show. I mean, I don't know, I got there and it was indoor. Usually we play outdoor, so I didn't really factor that in. And it was a pretty small space. So I really simplified my setup. Didn't do the organ machine. Didn't do the electric guitar stuff, electric guitar amp that I had been previously doing and kind of talking about. So I simplified. And that, with smaller space, smaller gear, overall just quieter, it wasn't a loud show, which that's pretty, some would think kind of lame. I kind of like it. I don't know, I get so loud sometimes it's like I can't hear anything because it just all melds together. But when it's, at the right volume and the right space, and then I didn't overcomplicate everything, it was one of the most fun times I've had at a show in like a really long time. And it's almost strange for me to say that. Strange for me to feel that way. But I would definitely say, in a little bit of a lull, a little bit of, kind of just gap of good shows, good times, good anything, really, with all the pandemic stuff and the new job. And it was, well, one of the things was, it was just nice to, the next day when people asked me how the show was, it was nice to go, yeah, it was really cool, it was awesome, and like really mean it, I guess. Not that I'm like lying most of the time when I say that stuff, but I pick out little things that could have been better or could have been, improved upon, or like things I didn't like about, and I get really hung up on that stuff sometimes. And it's, it's never like the venue or the audience. A lot of times it's me, like things that I'm doing that, and as I've mentioned before, it's like I get so caught up in trying to do too much that I don't get lost in the music. I'm too like focused. So, that being said, it was a very unsuspecting show that this would have been like kind of a revival for me. And I felt good, I sounded decent, it was just fun. Played songs, a couple people came out to see us. Dave was there on the congas, and he was, into it pretty good, and I was into it pretty good. And there were people that, like, there were a couple of his friends that were there at the beginning. We ended up doing like a little set just for them before anybody else got there. It never got insanely busy. Towards the end it was, a little bit busier, maybe 15, 20 people, but throughout the night it was, usually 5 to 10. 5 to 10 people, and you know, that doesn't sound like an amazing show, but it really just was, and I had a lot of fun. So then, you know, you have that, and it's like, well, what did this is why musicians are superstitious, because it's like, what did I do at that show that made it so much better? Well, the one that's in your face is, or in my face, is I simplified. I didn't try to, you know, do too much. I didn't do like all the extra things I had been doing lately, and I think that definitely helped, because I could just play, you know, instead of be bogged down by all that stuff. And other than that, though, I'm not really sure what the difference was. I mean, I worked all day, and then I had to go directly to the show. I took my time setting up, which was nice, something I usually try to do, or have been trying to do. So then we had the Windjammer the next weekend, and Lo was going to come, but then she wasn't feeling good last minute, so it ended up, and it was just Dave and I again, and I was like, well, these are the ingredients, so how can I make this similar? How can I, you know, have the same amount of fun? And it wasn't bad, I didn't get there, you know, like I didn't get to the place I wanted to be. There was a good crowd, too. The weird thing about the Windjammer playing inside is that it's just so loud. I mean, and I don't mean like the music, I mean the audience. Like the acoustics carry the people's voices, you know, just a lot better than a lot of places. So like you keep fighting with them, you know, you turn your volume up, they get louder, you turn your volume until, you know, nobody can hear anything. And it was a later crowd, so it was like it was 9 to midnight, so, you know, a little bit more rowdy probably than shows I have been playing. But I don't know, I just never quite hit my stride. I don't know what it was. And part of it was, you know, I was really trying to get ready for the show the next weekend, which was our Sugar Creek Festival. So, I mean, I don't know, at the end of the Windjammer, I was having fun by the end. It just took me a long time to kind of get to the end. It sounds bad, but, you know, some of the people left that were there, and it was easier to sound good, which is such a weird dichotomy. You know, I play a lot of these shows, and it's like, oh, I want it to be so busy, and then when it's busy, it's like, it never sounds good, and then when it's like 10 people, it's like, man, this sounds amazing. I can't crack the code. It's a constant, you know, mission I'm trying to figure out, but I never can quite, you know, hit both of those things. Have there be a ton of people and it sound exactly like I wanted to. But I did go with the simple method on the Windjammer, and I think that did help a little bit. Would have been worse if I would have had more noise going on. So then the next weekend was the Sugar Creek Festival, and this was a festival that Dave had played before, and he booked it and everything. I didn't really have much to do with setting it up, which is kind of unusual for our shows. And you know, he's been playing hand percussion for bands for so long, and you know, made a lot of connections over the years, and so I guess he got in touch with one of his old connects and asked if we could do it, and they said yes. And you know, he thought it was going to be like a pretty big deal, and I think it turned out to be a bigger deal than I was thinking. It's just a different animal, really, completely, because, you know, you get there, it's a campground, so I mean, it was that part of it was really cool, and they had a bunch of like artists selling like in these like different tents and kiosks, and so like around the whole area was a bunch of cool art and artists. And now we had an earlier set, so it wasn't really like busy, and you know, there was a lot of people there, but they weren't quite all up at the front yet. You know, they weren't quite ready to maybe receive the live music just yet, but and it's like you gotta get there, you gotta plug in stuff quickly, you know, make it simple, make it quick. And one of the big things with that was I I don't know why. I just decided to use a different guitar because the main Martin I use is having issues where the volume kind of changes without me changing it sometimes. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to use this other one that I haven't used in like months. And there was just something funky. I don't know how many acoustic guitar players out there are, but sometimes when you put on new strings in a guitar, even though I started in the middle and worked my way out, the saddle somehow seemed like it got offset. So like the pickup was only picking up the low string and then a lot of weak. So anytime I dropped the low string out, you know, I lost so much body to everything I was playing, and everything sounded so bassy. And so then, you know, you're kind of doing the math in your head, like, okay, well, I could play this chord here and get, you know, the normal chord and just drop out completely, or I could play it up here instead and get that low string. So that extra mental math, like while you're playing in real time, definitely makes a difference because you're a little bit less focused. But eventually I ended up and broke a string, which was kind of a blessing in disguise, though it was on one of my favorite songs, Good Friends. So Good Friends, it was the D string, which is like the main melody string on that song, so that was kind of annoying. But after I changed guitars, I just felt so much more comfortable, and it sounded so much better. And, you know, by that point, the crowd was a little bit more into it. We were a little bit more warmed up, and, you know, I think we kind of, you know, probably 90%. I would say we were at like 90% of our normal performance. And that's a good place to be at a thing like that, because you don't have the control that you would normally have if you were doing your own sound. So I don't know, we got a lot of good feedback from a lot of people, and it was fun. And then we just hung out the rest of the night. I ended up, and I was kind of pushing for this not to happen, because they had this like open mic type stage with a bunch of musicians that were running it. And Dave kept saying I should go and play, and I kept like saying, no, I just kind of want to enjoy the festival. But of course, you know, they coaxed me into doing it. And it's not like I didn't want to. I just knew beforehand what would happen. It would be like because just judging by the musicians that were there weren't a lot of like singers and like band leader type people. So I ended up and eventually got on stage, and this was loud, and like a bunch of musicians I'd never played with. They had a drummer, a bass player, electric guitar player, Dave on congas, Dave on drums sometimes. Lo was singing with me, and then I'm trying to like I'm trying to do simple songs like 3-4 chord songs to, you know, make it so everybody can kind of follow along easily. But then I'm just like doing the band leader thing, and, you know, trying to cue people, and, you know, oh, I'll take a solo, and then oh, I'll take a solo, and then, you know, oh, let's do this song. It's just these 4 chords like the whole time. And I was up there for probably an hour, I would say, and I knew that would happen. It's hard for me to get off a stage but it did bring me back to like when I was when I first started playing music, because there weren't like monitors, everything was really loud, you know, you just kind of sang and crossed your fingers a little bit into the mic. And we got an okay crowd here and there, but I mean, it was more just for the musicians. It wasn't really for anybody else. And I just did a bunch of covers, so I mean, it wasn't anything, because we didn't play any covers at the main performance. So, you know, it's just a different animal. It was easy to teach people covers that are like songs they've heard before that are 4 chords than my songs. But you know, it was fun. I think the number one takeaway is that, you know, festivals are amazing because you're performing for people that are there solely to see and kind of receive and be in the moment, but live music, you know, which a lot of the bar shows they play, like the one I'm going to now, people are just gonna be there. They're not really there to necessarily see what we're doing, you know. So I don't know. It's if we could just do all festivals, because I mean, with the amount of like Spotify people who follow the Unemployed Architects on Spotify now, I mean it's a lot more than before this last weekend, you know. Which is a gift. It's a great thing. We got to play at 90% our best in front of a pretty large group of people. And Lo sang well. I did all right. Dave had a lot of energy. I mean, it was good, and people just love Dave. So I mean, it's and Lo. I mean, Lo and Dave, people just. I feel like I get kind of the least amount of anything. I think part of that is people don't really recognize me off stage. I don't really have much of a look, which is maybe a problem. I don't know. But Lo is wearing this like bright rainbow dress, so she got a lot of people that are like, "Oh, you were the one up there singing," and Dave just has his own vibe altogether. I don't know, but it was great. I mean, it was. So I think the recap, the Gigs Place show kind of got me at least over a hump that I've needed to get over for a while, which was, just being in the moment and enjoying myself. I mean, it is crazy what a show like that will do. And I've been in a little bit of a rut for a long time, so just having a good show that I was confident about, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this, and I can be really good at it too. I can control the party and have people have a good time. But the Windjammer was okay. I don't think it really added anything or subtracted anything. It was just a show. And then the festival was kind of its own. And again, we played all originals at the. I think we played a Head in the Heart song, which I thought was a cool choice because not as many people would know it. It's not like a pop hit. It's just a song I really like to play. And we did Come Together, which was it's the Beatles, so it's a hard song not to play if you can play it, because it's kind of like one of our killers, like closer killers. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good experience ultimately, and we had fun the night after, just kind of walking around. I think Lo ended up and spent like $150 on artwork. So many just amazing artists just selling stuff. And then we had John and Phil from the John and Phil show. I bought a couple things off John Griffin. His artwork's always really cool, and he does a lot of festival artwork. And then Phil is kind of his partner in crime. They do the Phil and John show, and he paints these cool records, like the actual vinyls, and then he'll buy like old cheap records at a store and let you pick out the sleeve for it, which is kind of cool. But he painted 3 the Unemployed Architects records, and he gave us one for free, which was super cool and looked awesome. And you'll probably see that hanging in my little jam space if you look close. And I think we bought 3 different prints from John, and then we walked around and we just kept finding cool stuff. Like it was hard to not spend money. And then you're helping artists like just like me, just directly. You're paying them. They do the work. You pay them. It's just it's like a flea market for artists, kind of. And we got some cool stuff. So I don't know. It's been a fun 3 weeks. I hope we can kind of keep that energy alive. And I don't know. That gig show was the first time I didn't feel small in a long time. 'Cause I'm a short guy. I'm not a big guy, but when you play a show like that, you feel tall, if that makes sense. And it was just great. I don't know. All of it. The festival, the Windjammer, the Gigs Place, and I hope the show tonight is fun. But anyway, that's about all I got. It's been awesome for a few weeks, and we got a lot of stuff coming up. I didn't mention we did have a show scheduled at Poor Brothers, but it got canceled last minute due to weather. So that was a little bit of a bummer because it was the one in Champaign. They have a really nice courtyard. I don't know if we're trying to get the guy that books over there is like definitely open to trying to get us back in there, but I don't know if it'll happen. And then we got Distill, kind of a more acoustic version of the Unemployed Architects, probably May 7th. And then we have another Distilla show, which will be more of the full sound, which I think is still going to just be 3-piece on both, but we're going to do kind of like an acoustic set and then like a full but sounding 3-piece set. So some fun stuff definitely coming up. So anyway, we released Montauk, so if you haven't checked that out, please go to the Spotify and follow us and like that song. And anyway, anybody who takes the time to listen, I always appreciate you. And I'm pulling into Houdinis right now, so I'll have to go. And have a good rest of the week, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye.